Hello everyone, welcome to Business School 101. The United Auto Workers, UAW, is a labor union representing workers in the automotive industry in the United States and Canada. It is one of the largest and most influential labor unions in the country. In this video, we will delve into the UAW's historical development, its key functions, its sources of funding, and the critiques it has faced from the public. Section 1. History. Here's a brief history of the UAW, along with some major events that have shaped the union's development. 1930s, formation and early struggles. The UAW was officially founded in 1935 as part of the broader labor movement during the Great Depression. A significant event in the early history of the UAW was the Flint sit-down strike of 1936 to 1937. Workers at General Motors factories in Flint, Michigan, occupied the plants to protest poor working conditions and demand recognition of the union. 1940s, growth and influence. During World War II, the UAW played a critical role in the arsenal of democracy by collaborating with automakers to shift production to military vehicles and equipment. After the war, the UAW continued to grow in size and influence, negotiating wage increases and benefits for its members, contributing to the post-war economic boom. 1950s, leadership changes. Walter Reuther, who became UAW president in 1946, played a significant role in shaping the union's direction during this decade. The UAW became increasingly involved in political advocacy, supporting civil rights initiatives and progressive causes. 1960s, civil rights and turbulence. The UAW continued to advocate for civil rights during the 1960s, and it was a strong supporter of the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The 1960s also saw labor unrest, including wildcat strikes and disputes over the direction of the union. 1970s, challenges and crises. The 1970s brought economic challenges to the auto industry due to rising competition from foreign automakers, fuel crises, and inflation. The UAW faced concessions and layoffs as automakers struggled, leading to tensions within the union. 1980s and 1990s, adaptation and restructuring. The UAW navigated a changing landscape in the auto industry, including increased automation and globalization. The union engaged in negotiations and sometimes strikes to protect the interests of its members during a period of industry restructuring. 2000s, crisis in the auto industry. The 2008 financial crisis and subsequent recession hit the auto industry hard. UAW negotiated bailouts and concessions with the federal government to help save General Motors and Chrysler from bankruptcy. 2010s, rebuilding and modernization. The UAW focused on rebuilding its membership and securing new contracts that included wage increases and job security provisions. During this decade, the UAW faced challenges related to corruption scandals involving some of its leadership. 2020s, ongoing evolution. The UAW continues to adapt to the evolving automotive landscape, including the growth of electric vehicles and changes in manufacturing technology. Section 2. Functions. Here are the major functions and responsibilities of the UAW. Number 1. Collective bargaining. One of the primary functions of the UAW is to negotiate labor contracts on behalf of its members with automotive companies, including major manufacturers like General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, formerly Fiat Chrysler. These contracts cover a wide range of employment terms, including wages, working hours, benefits, workplace safety, and job security. Number 2. Advocacy for workers' rights. The UAW advocates for the rights of auto workers and strives to ensure that their interests are protected in the workplace. This includes addressing issues related to unfair labor practices, discrimination, harassment, and unsafe working conditions. Number 3. Strikes and labor actions. The UAW has a history of organizing strikes and other labor actions when negotiations with employers reach an impasse or when workers believe their rights and interests are not being adequately addressed. Number 4. Political advocacy. The UAW engages in political advocacy at various levels of government. The union supports policies and candidates that align with its goals and the interests of its members. Number 5. Training and education. The UAW provides training and educational programs for its members to enhance their skills, knowledge, and employability. Number 6. Promotion of labor solidarity. The UAW fosters a sense of solidarity among its members and encourages cooperation and unity among workers. This unity is essential for the successful negotiation of labor contracts and the advancement of workers' interests. Number 7. Community engagement. The UAW often engages with local communities, supporting various charitable and community initiatives. This can include donations, volunteer work, and partnerships with organizations to address social and economic issues. Section 3. Sources of funding. According to NBC, in 2023, the UAW has about $825 million in its strike fund. That money could probably last for 12 weeks if all of its nearly 150,000 members working for automakers were to go on strike at one time. Here are the main sources of funding for the UAW. Number 1. Member dues. The most significant source of funding for the UAW comes from its members. UAW members pay regular union dues, typically 1% to 2% from their monthly paychecks, to maintain their membership in the union. Number 2. Investment income. The UAW, like many labor unions, often invests its assets in various financial instruments and funds. Income generated from these investments can contribute to the union's finances and support its activities. Number 3. Special assessments. In certain situations, the UAW may impose special assessments or fees on its members to address specific needs or financial challenges. These assessments are typically temporary and are used for specific purposes, such as covering unexpected expenses. Number 4. Fees from non-members. In some cases, non-union members who benefit from the collective bargaining agreements negotiated by the UAW may be required to pay fees to the union as a condition of their employment. These fees are often referred to as agency fees or fair share fees. Number 5. Grants and donations. The UAW may receive grants or donations from external organizations, other unions, or individuals who support its mission and activities. These funds can be used to support specific initiatives or campaigns. Section 4. Critiques. While the United Auto Workers (UAW) has played a significant role in advocating for the rights and interests of auto workers, it has also faced criticism and critiques over the years. Some of the major critiques of the UAW include: Number 1. Corruption scandals. As mentioned above, one of the most significant and widely publicized critiques of the UAW in recent years has been corruption scandals involving some of its leadership. This includes allegations of embezzlement, bribery, and kickbacks. Several UAW officials have been convicted and sentenced to prison as a result of these scandals, damaging the union's reputation. Number 2. Lack of transparency. Critics have argued that the UAW lacks transparency in its financial dealings and decision-making processes. Concerns have been raised about how member dues are spent, as well as the union's investments and financial management practices. Number 3. High dues. Some members and critics have expressed dissatisfaction with the amount of dues they are required to pay to the UAW. They argue that the dues can be relatively high, and that the benefits received in return do not always justify the cost. Number 4. Conflict of interest. The UAW's involvement in the governance of the companies it represents, through seats on corporate boards, has raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest. Critics argue that these relationships can compromise the union's ability to represent the best interests of its members. Number 5. Inflexibility. There have been claims that the UAW's collective bargaining tactics and demands have contributed to inflexibility in the automotive industry. Critics argue that the union's demands for higher wages and benefits have made it more challenging for American automakers to compete globally. Number 6. Resistance to change. Some critics argue that the UAW has been resistant to adapting to changes in the automotive industry, such as the rise of automation and shifts toward electric vehicles. This resistance, they claim, can hinder innovation and competitiveness. Number 7. Political influence. The UAW's significant political contributions and endorsements have drawn criticism from those who disagree with the union's chosen candidates or political positions. Critics argue that the union's political influence can be disproportionate and that it may not always align with the views of all its members. Section 5. Summary. The United Auto Workers (UAW) serves as a vital advocate for auto workers in the United States and Canada, playing a central role in improving working conditions, securing fair wages, and negotiating comprehensive benefits packages for its members. However, the union has faced critiques, including allegations of corruption among some of its leaders, concerns about transparency, and questions about the impact of its bargaining demands on the industry's competitiveness. Despite these challenges, the UAW remains a prominent and influential force in the American labor movement, working to safeguard the interests of auto workers and advance workers' rights. Alright, that's all for today's topic. What do you think about the contributions and critics of the UAW? Please leave your thoughts in a comment below. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.